All right, Steve, you ready to do this?
Let's do it, Spence. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura.
Hola, buenos noches.
We're two best friends that, despite being fathers and husbands, we refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 25. The podcast can officially rent a car now.
Oh, you've gone there. That's nice.
How about that?
Nice.
We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on iTunes and Google Music. We are also available to come and do bar mitzvahs or quinceañeras. We like to travel and do things. So if you need our specialties for your holiday adventures,
family
or
reunion,
anything,
funeral.
Yeah. Reach out to us. We will gladly oblige. Awesome. Steve, I feel like I haven't talked to you in days. I feel like I haven't talked to you in a week. But like we've been talking every day almost. But man, I tell you, it's good to see you. I'm happy to be here once again in the Fortress of Nerditude. Just kicking back, ready to do this like always.
I feel like it actually is like the Fortress of Solitude, where I come here after I've been beaten down by the world, and I come here to find solace and peace for my soul.
Does your wife still listen to the podcast?
Jeru! No.
Or is she behind a few?
Wait, when you say, does she still listen to the podcast? Yeah,
I know she listened to like one, maybe. I ask because you say like I've been beaten down by the world and I need this. I'm just making sure like she's not going to take that as like, she's done something to you and like this is like your outlet.
She's not physically abusive.
That's not what I meant.
This is my plea for help. Read between the lines, Spence.
Are you okay? Blink twice for yes, once for no.
I'm scratching out a note, ransom note. Send the authorities.
Too funny. So what's new, man? What tell our friends who are listening right now what is going on in the Madura household?
Oh, it's always crazy in the Madura house, but that's the way. We like it. Yeah, things are busy at work. We are hiring a few new people, or maybe doing kind of a shell game with some existing people. We were talking about it today to see how we can, so I work in real estate. We talk about highest and best use for properties. A property is it better to be used as a parking lot or as a 72-story high rise, right?
Sure.
The answer is high rise. But same thing with people, so we're trying to find out how best to use those people. But it's going to be exciting because it's going to take some burden off these shoulders that I can have a life outside of the office. So that's going to be fun. And took my kids camping this weekend. My boys, there was a father and sons camp out through our congregation. So we all went out on Friday and Saturday, camped. It was like 65 degrees. And then at night it was like 55, which is, if you don't know, perfect camping weather. It was like I could sleep on top of my sleeping bag, took the fly off under the stars. It was awesome.
Okay.
By the way, the fly, by the way, is a rain fly, not
the button fly.
501, baby.
So let me ask you this. You sent me a video.
Sick monkey.
Excuse me. You sent me a video of Carter playing with that remote controlled car, and the video was a little grainy, so I couldn't make out like if did that take place in your camp out, or was that like a park or something at home?
No. On Saturday, after we got back from the camp out, he's been wanting to take this thing and go to the skate park. We've got a skate park right next to our library, and it's got like a half bowl, and it's got some jumps and stuff. And so I finally kind of, I finally acquiesced and took him there. because I was a little worried. He's seen all this stuff on YouTube of people like doing flips and jumps and all this stuff. I'm like, they are like trained professionals. They're much older than you. They're not 11. But he took it there and he impressed the crap out of me, man. He went down into this bowl and then he flew up the other side and he landed on all fours. He was taking it off jumps and stuff. So he played with it for like half an hour there and I was just like in awe. Like he was doing really, really well.
So you know what I find, like I saw the video and it looked cool. I mean, it was a little hard to see, but what I find really funny about this story, Steve, is like you're so worried about like your 11-year-old son and like his like little remote control car. Man, when you and I were 11, we were riding around West School on a mini bike and I was burning the inside of my thigh on the exhaust and we were like terrorizing the neighborhood and you're like, oh, be careful, this remote control car. I'm just saying.
I just don't want him to bust the $250 remote control car. Your thigh, expendable. There's skin grafting, but that car...
Instead, we nearly killed ourselves a few times on that mini bike, and we couldn't be replaced. But, you know, that remote control car...
It's all about priorities, man. It's all about priorities. So the week has been really good. The weather has finally turned here in Chicago. Today was like 75 and it was like, I don't know about you, but when the weather finally turns after a long winter, and this winter wasn't exactly like harsh like usual Chicago winters, but it just, you know, after February and March and April, you're like, oh my gosh, just warm up. And so finally it warms up and it's like, I don't know. It enlivens my soul. So that's been nice the past few days. Get out and enjoy the weather. Mother's Day happened. So a shout out to all mothers. So Nancy and Lisa. What?
Yeah.
And then our respective mother-in-laws. Happy Mother's Day to you, belated. We had a nice breakfast for Carrie. Parfait, because as you know from Eddie Murphy, parfait, the best thing in the whole damn world.
Some of them like parfait. They say, hell no, I don't want no damn parfait. Everyone loves parfait. It's delicious.
And in the morning, we're making waffles. I never knew how profane that donkey was, because when you actually slow it down, he's like, the best MF parfait in the MF world. I'm like, what the freak?
Yeah.
So we did that, and then took her to the Botanic Gardens, which is right by our house. Had a nice day, nice day, and got her some gifts. You know, the kids make the little coupon books of like, I'll rub your feet, and I'll give you a back rub, and I'll clean my room. I'm like, you're gonna do that anyway, dang it!
Right?
Dang parfait.
So, what as an adult would you put in a little coupon book if you were making one for Carrie?
I can't put that on this podcast.
That's because you didn't do it, right? You're a cheapskate.
Yeah, that's why. No, I just
would it be like, I will do the dishes for a week. You don't have to worry about them. Would it be something like that, like something she doesn't like to do, but like you don't like to do either?
Well, it'd probably be more like honey-do list, because like just general cleaning and stuff. I'm pretty good at that. I do a lot of that. She loves to mow the lawn, so I actually, oddly enough, I'm not a bad husband. She loves to do it, so she mows the lawn. But there's things like around the house. Like there's a sandbox outside that my kids don't play with, and it's like this huge like it looks like a hopa around this thing with like a roof and all this stuff. And she's like, nobody plays it. We got to take that thing down. That's been on my honey-do list for 3 years.
Burn it, man. Burn it to the ground.
Right.
Just light it
next
up.
to our house, the whole thing goes.
Just stand out there with the hose and keep the flames off the house. You'll be fine.
Officer, I was trying to do a controlled burn in my backyard that's full of wood chips.
Right. I talked to an idiot. Listen, I got a firefighter friend on Twitter, and he was explaining to me how to do a controlled burn. We're cool, I promise.
Yeah, so that's been going on, and just life. But all's good and right with the world. What about you, my friend? What about you?
So we've been recovering from illness in our household, and we can safely say that we're pretty much, out of the woods. We're okay now. So we're good there. Yeah, I need a shot of something. The cold is almost completely gone, which is good. Let's see. Over the weekend, my motorcycle club participated in a charity ride. We basically go and we do this kind of ride, and this charity provides money, but it also provides these hand crocheted or knit hats for children up at the Huntsman Cancer Institute. And so we go up there to this big kind of place called a Circle of Hope on all of our motorcycles, and some kids that could come down were able to come down and see them. And we, carry these beanies and hats with us. And so we're able to give them, personally hand deliver the hats and the beanies to a few of the kids and the people that are up there. Cause it's just a really sad thing. I mean, seeing these kids going through all this, but, it was great to ride, but man, it was just cold. And we went up one canyon and then crossed over, on the backside of this canyon and back down another. And let me tell you, if it was cold in the valley, getting up in the canyons on the motorcycle, woo, it was cold. But it was for a good cause, and so at the end of the day, you don't mind the cold.
So let me ask a question then. So I just have a picture in my mind of like these burly, shaved head motorcycle guys like sitting on their Harleys at some like dive bar, like knitting, like crocheting, the little tick, 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 tick of the little two metal things going together. Be like, this hat, Sebastian's just going to love it.
No, we don't do any of the crocheting. You're close, but not close. No, we don't do the crocheting. There's like some ladies, and there's one lady in particular that does a lot of them throughout the year. But we basically do the ride portion of it though. And, the ride costs a little bit of money. And so that money goes to the charity. And so, we did that. I actually got my photo taken. They had a bunch of photographers there and stuff, and my photo was taken on my bike on part of the ride. And so I put that up on our Twitter. So it's out there so you can go see it if you care. I think just Twitter. I don't think I put it up on Facebook. I'd have to take a look. If not, I'll toss it up there, just if anyone cares to see it. Mother's Day was Sunday, and the boys, not me, I mean, I supervised a little bit. The boys made Brita chocolate strawberries for breakfast.
Oh, nice.
So, they got the strawberries out, and I made them wash them and dry the strawberries. And then I melted the chocolate in the microwave, and then I showed them how to dip it. And I told them it was hot, so they had to be careful. And so all three of us dipped the strawberries in chocolate, and then we put it on the wax paper, and it cooled. And then I did drizzled a little extra chocolate to kind of give it a little texture and make it look nice. And so they surprised Mommy with chocolate strawberries. And then we made a lasagna dinner that night because my wife was in the mood for lasagna. And then I actually made, for the first time ever, and probably the last time, I made chocolate lava cakes, homemade. And basically it's like there's a chocolate cake kind of recipe, and you put them in these like little ramekins or custard cups. I put them in like these little like ramekin springform pans. But you basically like cook it for like 11 or 12 minutes. And so like the middle is still a little gooey because it's uncooked.
Oh yeah.
And that's how it makes the lava. And so we did that, and it actually turned out pretty good. We did cards, and the boys signed cards, and I had to identify which boy signed which half of the card.
You had to interpret the hieroglyphs.
Pretty much.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, though, because we did chocolate-covered strawberries as well, and we did lasagna as well, because I just put like a frozen lasagna in there. Yeah, I put a timer on the oven, so it was done when we got back from church, which was freaking awesome.
Stouffer's?
And then, no, there's we don't really care for Stouffer's, but there's a brand that's like it's called like, I don't know, Armaggios or Amagelli's or some weird, like, not weird, but some Italian name that we get at Sam's Club or Walmart, and it's so freaking good. And it comes in like a 12-pound whatever, but it's not one of the big name Stouffer's or Marie Callender's or all that.
See, Steve, I'm just a common American, and I go for Stouffer's. I don't go for that highfalutin Italian sounding lasagna.
It was so good, Garfield. What was funny is Addison, my younger son, really wanted to do a dessert for his mom. And my daughter, Alana, got a present from my mother a few years back, this like cake pop thing. So if you could picture, it's like a George Foreman, but it's got a bunch of like little like holes that are smaller than
Yeah,
eggs. But
I've seen them. Yeah.
You've seen them. Okay, yeah. And so he's like, well, I want to do this. And we usually do like brownie pops when we do it. And then we'll put like powdered sugar on them. We wouldn't have that. We had like a lemon cake mix. Ooh. So he did the whole thing himself. He made this whole thing up and we started pouring these in. We put like a little like Ziploc bag and then put the batter in there so we could just squeeze them in really easily. So he makes these and he's like, but that's not enough. And so we made chocolate as well. We drizzled them with chocolate and then put powdered sugar on top of them. And then he dipped some of them all the way in chocolate. And they were so freaking good. Like a lemon cake with like a powdered sugar drizzle of chocolate. It was awesome. So between that and the chocolate covered strawberries, we were well fed.
Nice. Let's see what else happened real quick. We finished the first season of The Flash on Netflix. And I kid you not, we finished that, and of course we wanted to start on to the next season. And Brita turns to me and looks at me, she says, why can't the DC movies be this good? That was her direct quote, and I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Because the TV show was like, it's becoming like, we're hooked, like we're really into it, we're really into the story. And of course, with TV shows, you have the ability to develop characters over a greater period of time and tell, longer stories and whatnot. But we're really liking The Flash. We're about halfway through season 2 already. I mean, we're just getting knocked out on Netflix. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I might have to get back into it because, like I said, I only put about halfway through, but I might need to give it another chance. Well,
the other thing is they do some crossovers with Arrow, and I've never watched Arrow. But Arrow's on Netflix, and I'm like, maybe I'll start watching Arrow when we get caught up on Flash.
It's a good show. So, I've probably watched 2 seasons of Arrow. It's okay. It's a good show.
Yeah.
Same type of thing, though. Same type of,
Right. Yeah. I get that. I get that impression. But anyway, that was my week. But one thing before we kind of get off the weekly update, Josh, my brother, this week was a guest on Sheldon Forgotten. It's a podcast that they kind of cover older video games. The hosts are Johnny Casino and Dave Moore. And anyway, at the end of their podcast, they were talking about Josh, and Josh kind of being a frequent guest, has been a frequent guest on our podcast and, some others. And anyway, they gave us a nice shout out, to our podcast. Love Johnny Casino, love Dave Moore, love the Sheldon Forgotten podcast. If you are interested in video games and you want to hear some guys talk about like older video games that maybe aren't getting as much love anymore because they're, sitting on the shelf and they're dusty and they need to be blown off and, given some love and attention, go follow them on Twitter at ShelvedForget. You won't regret it. It's a fun podcast. And Steve, we really need to have these guys on sometime and, talk with them. I mean, Johnny and I have talked some and tried to, we're going to try to arrange something, but I think that would be a lot of fun. Talk about some old video games, some retro stuff from our youth.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, anybody that's named Johnny Casino that's not a pimp from the 70s, like, that's freaking awesome. That name, yeah that'd be like one of those names.
Anyway.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Thank you for shouting out, guys, and we'll get you right back.
Yeah. It'd be a lot of fun to do that. Anyway, I just wanted to give them a quick shout out. Steve, I think it's that time we should move on into the old Rebel Intelligence. What do you say?
Let me check my watch. Looks like it's about wishing time.
Is it same bat time, same bat channel?
Same bat channel. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
Okay, Rebel Intelligence, Steve. What do you have for me this week?
This week, one of the things that I wanted to bring up I found kind of interesting. So, 2 things. I guess it's kind of it dovetails one into the other. But the new Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, that is coming out very, very soon.
Right,
2 things.
like
Number
in a week
one,
or two, right?
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Sir Paul McCartney makes a small cameo following, I know, during the last movie,
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards from Rolling Stones played Johnny Depp's father. And so Paul McCartney makes a little cameo here. I don't think he has a large role like Keith Richards did. I think he's just not an extra, but he makes a cameo in a card game. But they have a picture that is floating around the internet, and there have been mixed reviews about the hokiness. A lot of people have said it looks like he got like a piratize yourself and just threw his photo into
like a
app.
Snapchat filter or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So I looked at it. I mean, he's no Michael Bolton, who played a pirate at one point in his career, and that was it was in one of the comments. I'm like, Michael Bolton, eh?
This is the tale of Captain Jack Sparrow. Pirates
when
are brave.
A man loves a woman. Yeah. So, but the bigger story though is, as many of you may have heard by the time this podcast drops, hackers, which have been rampant in Hollywood as of late, have basically hacked and stolen a copy of this movie somehow, and are holding Disney ransom, saying that they will release 20-minute segments at a time if large chunks of the said payment are not made. So
really,
CEO of Disney said they're not gonna pay. But again, it brings an interesting question of kind of a new realm of kind of cyber terrorism, I guess you would say. Where they are, they're threatening large studios that have invested a lot of time, obviously a lot of money, marketing. They've got very strict timelines, and they're kind of at the whim of hackers. Now, obviously, hackers don't have maybe the ability to get it out to as large an audience. That couldn't be shut down.
It's the internet, though. So think about it.
Yeah,
I mean, if someone said, "Hey, we've got the first 20 minutes of this movie. We're going to put," and especially if it's a news article and people are already talking about it, man, that hits the internet. They're going to try to take it down and get it off as quick. But
you're true. Yeah.
It's going to go wide. A lot of people would see it.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate that we're kind of going down this road. Like, this is becoming a thing where people are like, I'm going to hold you ransom to do this and blah, 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 blah. Because, I mean, it's your livelihood. I mean, I don't like this. I don't condone this. But what I always hate about this is like when someone like gets caught for doing this, it's not some like shady organization. It's like some like 15-year-old like in the suburbs who's like, I was bored and I needed something to do. Man, go kick a soccer ball outside. Go play football, go ride a mini bike and try not to burn your inner thigh on the exhaust.
Yeah, this isn't like Dr. Claw, like, I'll get my money. Gadget. Yeah, it's, 15-year-olds out there, if you're listening, you're right. Go play tag. Go maybe
not tag.
Maybe
go get a girlfriend.
Red Rover. I mean, kick a can. Go play Tiddlywinks Jacks. Come on, people. All right. So that's my first. So what do you have?
So George R.R. Martin, who is the author of the Song of Ice and Fire, which is where the Game of Thrones HBO show is based off of, kind of put a quote out there just recently saying that HBO is kind of looking to do like 5 different pilots that could be potential spin-offs from Game of Thrones. And people start going nuts thinking like, hey, we're going to get 5 new series based off of the kind of the Game of Thrones world. And George had to come back and clarify and say like, no. We're writing 5 different pilots to try to get like an idea of like which direction we may want to go. Most likely there's going to be a spin-off, a single spin-off type of show, not 5 of them, because that would be just ridiculous.
Right.
But, the internet, they hear something and it's going to run and they're going to go nuts. And so he had to kind of come out and clarify that they're writing 5 scripts, 5 pilots, kind of get an idea. We'll see where we go. But it's most likely we're just looking at a single spin-off.
Very interesting. So, didn't you mention a few podcasts ago about our dear friend who recently named his son Lincoln?
Yeah, Sean and Chelsea
right.
Capri, they named their son Lincoln, Link after the character in The Legend of Zelda.
Right. Well, there's a news article out that is talking about how nerds abroad are naming their sons Kylo. Of course, after Kylo, that's right. After, of course, this character in Star Wars who, and it seems to make sense. I mean, on the one hand, you have a whiny, squealy newborn infant being named after a whiny, squealy, wannabe Sith Lord. So it seems almost fitting. Yes. Now, I would fear there was a father if perhaps Kylo Ren doesn't stand the test of time like other such characters of the early
like
Anakin
Darth Maul.
Skywalker.
Like
exactly.
We named our kid Darth Maul. Oh, he was only in one film.
We named our kid Jar Jar, and I don't know why. He's beaten up daily at school. So I don't know. How do you feel about that? I mean, I know you often joke about naming a son James Tiberius Kirk.
I don't joke about that, man. I'm dead serious. I have told Brita that if we were to have another kid and it would be a boy, if she gave me sole naming rights, like I could name this kid whatever I wanted, I would continue having kids until she got a girl. Because I would want to name that son James Tiberius Stapleton, and then we'll just call him Kirk for a nickname.
Well, here's the question. So can you imagine, 30 years from now, all these grown-up Kylos running around? Like, Kylo, you see on a resume, you're like, I'm not hiring that guy. And what if they hate Star Wars? What if maybe they're like, they're possibly nerdy because their parents thought it was a grand idea to name them after some dude who murders his own father?
Why not name him Benjamin? Why not name him Benjamin and then have his nickname be Kylo?
Yeah, like all about the nickname. All about the nickname.
I'm just saying, this does happen. I mean, how many Lukes and Leias were there in the late 70s? Things like this happen. Big touchstones, big things happen. I mean, it's just, it's like Bella. Like after, I've never seen the Twilights, but like all of a sudden, like there's all these little girls running around with the name Bella everywhere.
Those parents have to feel pretty darn stupid, right? Like years later, like the movie franchise after a while kind of just gets a bad rap, and then it's kind of like, yeesh. Now if you're like, no, it's a family name, you're like, no, it's not.
Now let's go back, because as I recall, at one point, this was unintentional, but at one point before Carter was born, you and Carrie were talking about different names you liked, and if I recall, you liked the name Peter and she liked Parker, or one way around or something. And like you realized, like you were looking at the name and like your son was gonna be like Peter Parker Madura.
No,
and I was like, Spider-Man, and then you're like, oh no, sorry, and you had to back off that.
No, it was very close, very close. The story actually goes that it was Addison, and we already had a Carter, and I really liked the name Parker, and she really liked the name Kent. Like,
oh yes, that's Kent. What it was.
So it was going to be Parker Kent Madura, and so we have this written up on the whiteboard up in the hospital room, and I keep looking at it, I'm like, why does that name? And they're like, oh my gosh, Carrie, what have we done? I'm like, Peter Parker, Clark Kent, what the crap?
You should have done it. It would have been awesome.
Yeah. If we have another child, or some unborn child yet to be named,
because then you could mash Spider-Man and Superman together, and you could call him Superman or Spider-Man.
What a nickname.
Does he know that story? Does Addison know that?
No. Speaking of names, what's
he
your name?
will when I text him later this week.
Right. Later this week, he probably texted you tonight. He's like, hey man, what's up? Are we hanging out later?
I miss you.
We going to Buffalo Wild Wings? Right. Watch some sports together?
Sorry, what were you saying?
I said, where is your name from?
My name.
Is it from Kimball?
Yeah. Spencer. My name Spencer was after Spencer W. Kimball, and my mom really liked that name because it was just an older name, a name you didn't hear a lot. in the general public in the late 70s. Although this TV show Spencer for Hire, they got like really popular in like the late 70s, early 80s. So like if I run into people who are older and I've grown up and they're like, Spencer, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, oh, right, yeah, what? And they're like, no, I mean Spencer. And I'd look at him and say, yeah, no clue, buddy. I'm a kid. You're talking about a TV show that like I can't watch. It's past my bedtime. So
that was with Robert Urich. Yes.
Yes.
I remember
so
that show.
Anyway, it was kind of an older name at the time. And then Joseph was after my mother's father. That's his first name. So like my middle name was my mom's father's name, and my brother's middle name was after my dad's father's name, which Breed and I have kind of carried that on with our kids. My Charlie is named Charles Gary, and Gary was my dad's name, and then Jackson Paul, and Paul is her grandfather. So anyway.
I like that. I like the legacy, the legacy, the name.
Yeah. I'm okay with my names, but Kylo, yeah, I'd probably regret that later. I'm just saying.
Definitely.
I mean, if I was really going to go with like a Star Wars name, I think I'd have to name him after like one of the Ewoks and go with like Wicket. Just kidding.
Isn't that some false religion that the girls in high school used to do? Like, I'm a Wicket.
That's Wiccan, not Wicket.
It's so
the Ewok.
This is some like weird goth witch type religion that they dance naked in the woods or something. I don't know. All right, let's move on.
No, let's get back to this weird naked girl dancing in the woods religion you want to talk about.
I'm converting.
I bet you are, you perv. Okay. So Steve, I don't know if you saw this, but there's a rare prequel manuscript to Harry Potter that J.K. Rowling had written that basically was for like some sort of charity. It was meant to be for like this charity organization and help them raise money. Apparently it's been stolen. So she has been pleading to like, someone return it, whoever's got it. Because obviously something like this, you can't sell something like this without it, being identified to who the seller is.
Right.
Because it's going to be so unique and it's going to be so identifiable. And the Harry Potter books were huge. So I think if you steal something like this, you can't sell it. You're going to have to sit on it.
Yeah, like what do you do? So it's not made into any kind of screenplay. It's just a script. Yep. You can't sell it as a book, obviously, because that's not going to work.
I mean, on the black market, but I mean that's about as far as you go.
But still, again, besides having it, you're not going to be able to publish it or make really any money from it. I don't think.
Right, because the second you try.
Yeah,
you're gonna get turned in. You're gonna get caught.
It's like the Italian Job, when the guy has all those like gold bricks of the Balinese dancer, but he can't move them because they're freaking gold bricks. Like who can take a gold? I want
melt them down, man.
That's why they always say small unmarked bills so you can move them easily. That's how I like my money.
Like ones. Like a whole stack of ones.
With a 20 on the edge.
When you go to that forest with that naked dancing girl religion, you can make it rain.
I'll be a huckleberry.
Okay. I don't know why. That's going to stick around for a while.
I bet it is Ben Affleck.
Yes. All right, what do you got?
I had not seen it. So there was The Last Jedi, big reveal. There's a website going around that mentions or shows the image of a movie poster from Japan, I believe, and the translation is the biggest the most shocking story to be revealed, or most, what does it say here? Most shocking or sensational truth to be revealed. And so there's been a lot of speculation as to, what is this huge truth that could be the biggest of the Star Wars history? Obviously thinking, Darth Vader is Luke's father. How can it be bigger than that? But from the translation of this poster, it says that that this is going to be so massive, it's going to rock the Star Wars galaxy. So, any thoughts as to what that could be?
I mean, I know from the Force Awakens, everyone wants to know who Rey's parents are.
Right.
So, I mean, but who's Rey's parents? Do you think that's bigger than I'm your father?
Yeah, it's like what I had for breakfast this morning in comparison. So, yeah, no, I don't think so. I wonder if it has something to do with Luke. Obviously how the trailer ended. Does he, dare I say, go to the dark side?
Maybe. Or does little Kylo Ren figure out how to resurrect his grandpa, Darth Vader, and bring him back from being a Force ghost like we see at end of Return of the Jedi? And now we've got Darth Vader and the little wimpy sidekick Kylo Ren.
Very interesting.
That would be interesting. I think that's really far-fetched. I think that would take some serious
George Lucas script writing.
right, to get there. Yeah.
My other thought, it could be like, Jar Jar comes back as a Darth Sith Lord. He's like, "You won't be believing. Me's a Darth Jar Jar. We're gonna kick your." I don't know. I got nothing.
Wow. I mean, I know people do believe that, like, that could be a theory, Darth Jar Jar. But I mean, come on. No.
It was just a great meme. I got nothing.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
Okay. I don't know what it's going to be. We'll find out in December. I know we'll talk about it and we'll get into it at that time. But yeah.
Until then.
Hey, real quick. This is like completely off topic. Have we decided exactly when we can start talking spoilers for the movie Split? It's the new M. Night Shyamalan movie that came out back in like January.
Yeah, we talked about it many podcasts ago, just briefly.
We talked about it briefly, but we talked about like not really kind of talking about it because the big reveal in that we can't talk about because it was too new and too spoilery. Have we really, like, has the moratorium passed on that yet?
If it was January, yeah, I would say that we are in the clear.
Okay. Then let's talk after the podcast because I want to get your opinion on something, and maybe we can talk about this next week a little bit about that because there's some news relating to some of this stuff, and I want to get into it, but I didn't really want to necessarily talk about it in case, people are like, no, wait, I'm still trying to, watch it. It's on my queue. I bought it on iTunes or something,
Okay. So yeah,
anyway.
So offline.
I'm really dying to talk about this, and I need people, man. I need people to talk about this stuff with.
All right, well,
I'm here for
some
therapy.
You.
I need some time on the couch. What can I say?
Little couch session.
Okay. Back over here to Rebel Intelligence now. One of my favorite new books is the King Killer Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. I've talked about it before. His first book in that series, The Name of the Wind, is getting a 10th anniversary edition later this year with like 50 illustrations. It's going to be hardbound. I've seen a couple of the illustrations online. They are beautiful. And I don't know what this is going to cost, but I'm really thinking that I may have to start talking to my wife and my mother-in-law because I think I may want this as like a Christmas gift because I adore that book series so far. I'm waiting on the last book in the series, The Doors of Stone. But Name of the Wind, hardbound with beautiful illustrations added into it, just sounds absolutely awesome to me. So if you're looking for a book series and you want to get into something new, I highly recommend it. If you've already listened to it and you love it, that's awesome. Reach out to me. We can always talk about that. But if you're into like cool hardbound versions of, books with illustrations added, 10th anniversary editions. I mean, I know a lot of books will kind of do like a big 10th anniversary edition if it was a popular book. That's going to be a thing, and I think it's coming out in October. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for those.
Very cool.
They should be coming.
Very cool.
So,
well,
yeah.
I think that kind of rounds out our discussion in Rebel Intelligence, unless you have anything else.
I think I'm tapped out, man. You got me.
Tap out. Very cool. Very cool. Well, always, it's actually kind of nice because I think we've gone probably like a month and a half of like nobody dying. That's been nice.
Well, I mean, there have been some people. I mean, this is a big world, Steve.
I just felt like
it does happen like every day. I mean,
all right, anybody important?
You're talking big names in pop and nerd culture. I get it.
Right. It's just funny though. I felt like for a while there we were having annual or weekly eulogies. I'm like, okay, it's getting a little heavy in the britches. So
right.
Cool.
Let's see here. Last week, Steve, we had a great conversation. We talked about sequels, and we talked about some of the things we really liked about sequels, some of the things we think work with sequels, and we also talked about a few things like if we were writing a sequel that we would stay clear of, things we wouldn't want to, retread.
Well, I think we really just talked about Karate Kid 2 for like an hour and a half. I think that's what it was.
We did get to that.
What the freak? By the way, I loved the Easter egg at the end, man. So if anybody hasn't listened last week, oh my gosh, go back and check it out. Richard Marks would be proud. No, that's Chicago.
I promise you. I know, but it's just Peter Cetera, man. It's the Peter Cetera thing. Yes, I gotta tell you, I had so much fun finding that and tacking that on to the end of the episode. I highly considered letting the whole 4.5 minute song play at the end.
4.5 minutes? What is a Stairway to Heaven?
Dude, it is long. But I was like, mercifully, you'll get about 60 seconds and I'll fade it to black. But
it was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, I actually halfway considered watching Karate Kid 2 over the weekend.
Brita vetoed it. She's like, we are not.
I was looking for something to watch, and she'd gone to bed, and I was like, maybe I'll watch like 10 minutes. But I knew that if I started that thing, it'd be like 2.5 hours later, and at the end, I'd be all pumped up and like, live or die, man, live or die. Wrong answer. Honk. And I'd be laughing and wake her up.
Wouldn't be able to get to sleep and to go break some ice.
So we did talk about sequels, and so I put this out here, and these are going to get a little long. I'm going to get through them quick, okay?
Go.
Over on Twitter, at dspin67, he says, and he's got a few, he says, Terminator 2, Arnold not the bad guy, okay? Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker, Toy Story 2, emotional storytelling via animation, Godfather 2, better than the original. Aliens, better than Alien, action over thriller. Empire Strikes Back, Bourne Supremacy, just more action. And then he also jumped over to video games, because we were talking about sequels kind of in the terms of movies.
Right.
But we did leave the question vague enough that it could apply to books or movies or music. And he says, for gaming, he says Uncharted 2, Naughty Dog kicked it up a few notches, and I agree, Uncharted 2 is better than Uncharted. Red Dead Redemption said a great story, played it twice. I actually never played Red Dead Redemption. My brother always gives me a hard time about that, but I've kind of seen bits and pieces of it, and the ending's been spoiled for me. And then he says Assassin's Creed 2, Ezio. And, I know the Assassin's Creed games have done a lot, but I would imagine that the second game probably was better than the first. I didn't personally play those, but yeah, I can see that.
Well, D-Spin, here's a gold star for going the extra mile on that answer.
I know, it's pretty good, right? So, over on Facebook, Court Frug, is that right? Frug?
Fruget. It's French.
Fruget. Kind of like
the
Fabergé.
dressing.
I should remember Fabergé, Fruget. I don't know why, but mentally. Anyway, Court Fruget says Empire Strikes Back was better than A New Hope.
Done.
I think the world's going to agree with you there. Okay. Peter Christensen replied on Facebook, and he says, "You have my email." He says, "You have my email." And I responded back, I said, "You mean novel?" And he says, "Chapter 2 is better than Chapter 1. Really funny. I got a big kick. So, moving over to the email, Peter Christensen. He says, "During your talk of sequels, I was writing notes so fast, scribbling them furiously, I could barely keep up. Came to the realization a common complaint about movies now is that every movie is a sequel or adaptation or franchise or series, and there's nothing original," which I think we can agree on. We've talked about that some.
Absolutely.
He says, "I believe this, but don't think it's a big problem, as it makes it easy to know if you should go see a given movie or franchise or not." He says, "But while you were talking, I realized that this has been going on my whole life. Star Trek, Star Wars, Superman, Batman, Indiana Jones, Rocky, Rambo, Alien, Terminator, Die Hard, Back to the Future, etc. Some stories and characters are just great and deserve to be continued, retold, or reinterpreted. See Robin Hood, Sherlock Holmes, King Arthur, etc. So let's stop complaining about sequelitis and judge movies on their own merits." I think that's perfectly reasonable. He is right. We do talk about that a lot, reboots, remakes, whether or not they're needed. But we should judge the movies for themselves, at least for the most part. I mean, I'm still not going to go see that new Ghostbusters.
Or the new Footloose.
Yes. Or the new Karate Kid. Dang it. Nope. I just, here I agree with him, but then I'm like, but I'm still not going to. He goes on to say, "My pick for best sequel is Terminator 2. Takes the terror of the killer robot from the future and flips it to a savior while adding an even scarier villain in the T-1000. The effects and action are still amazing and were completely off the charts 25 years ago. Rewatched it recently. Love that despite all the banana stuff that happens, its small impact on the world, things most people would only be aware of if they were watching the news. Not a swirling energy ring in the sky or an entire city destroyed. The morality of the different choices the characters face, the tensions between fate and choice, plus hosing down a bunch of police cars with a minigun make this one of my favorite movies of all time. Bonus points for playing Guns N' Roses while chasing around the LA River."
Oh, that is a great scene. That is oh gosh. And also 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
I'm going to start paraphrasing now because it gets long. But he basically says the Fast and Furious series, he says you should look at like an 80s franchise. The story is just kind of set dressing. You're there for the big explosions, the car chases, that sort of thing. And he says that the movies 4 through 8 are just a lot of fun, because of that reason, that the story is just set dressing. You go to it, you have a good time.
Yeah, and people know what they're getting when they pay the $12 to go see it. Yeah.
Right. Then he goes in and talks about a maligned sequel that fits into our category of more of the same characters, but it's too different. And he says Cars 2. The movie's held up as proof that Pixar is vulnerable, but it's a pretty good movie on its own. Granted, it depends entirely how much you can stand Mater/Larry the Cable Guy, but it's a great spy thriller and a beautiful travel movie. I look forward to seeing Cars 3 this summer because it looks like the best remake of Rocky IV we're ever going to get.
I like Cars 2 as a standalone.
As a standalone. Yep, I agree. But as like a sequel, it doesn't feel.
It's not really.
Yeah. He says worst sequel was Miscongeniality 2. He says so maybe Sandra Bullock should stick to the originals. And then, a quick list here. I'm just going to read through the top because it gets really lengthy. It says sequels that are better than the originals: Terminator 2, Godfather 2, Empire Strikes Back, Toy Story 3, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, The Dark Knight, Wrath of Khan. I agree with every single one of those except for Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. No way.
What?
We're the Reaper. No, man. The original. San Dimas.
Best 3 out of 5? I mean, yeah. Yeah, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is the movie in that franchise.
Yeah. Rufus. Socrates.
So he says, getting down further in the email, Says, now go review this podcast on iTunes so the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to find as the end of Peter Christensen's email. Because I kid you not, Steve, and I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you can see this. Like, scroll. Yeah.
He did take furious notes. He was a very studious student.
He did. He says that he tried really hard to fit Ben Affleck into it, but apparently Ben Affleck doesn't do sequels, so he couldn't fit him in. And he also says that if we ever do a food episode, he'd be happy to come on and talk about his new hobby, which is sous vide cooking. I think that's how you pronounce it.
What does that entail?
It's some sort of cookie. I don't know. We'll have to talk to Peter.
We'll have to have him on. I think what Peter's goal is to see how much time he can actually get devoted to him on the podcast. That's what it is.
That may be.
This is all self-aggrandizement.
I have the last email I'm going to read. It says, guys, so as I was listening to the most current episode, I heard something that deeply hurt me and shook me to my core. Steve made a cardinal sin, one that made me question if I could ever trust him ever again. Steve says he really likes Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Really? Surely aliens used their psychic powers on you and manipulated your mind during this segment. That is the only reason I can conjure as to why a movie featuring Steven Spielberg's wife as the female lead Steve could consider a good movie. Don't even get me started on Short Round. Anyway,
oh my gosh.
That aside, keep up the good work. I really enjoy the camaraderie between you two. Your listener in Norway, Azoj Nodelpats, says, P.S. Spencer, get your brother back on soon. He's an amazing guest, and he always puts a smile on my face when he's on the show. Okay.
Wow.
So, Steve, you got paper and pen handy?
I've got paper and pen handy.
Okay. Azoj Nodelpats. Write this down. A-U-H-S-O-J. The last name, N-O-T-E-L-P-A-T-S.
Wow.
Okay. Azoj Nodelpats. Does that name strike you as familiar?
Josh Stapleton, you
It's my brother's name backwards.
Shows Nodelpats. You bum. I'm going to send you on a one-way ticket to Norway.
He sent me that email this week, and I laughed so hard.
Mr. Nodelpats. Now, if I were to say that Indiana Jones 3, the Skull of Whatever, was a better...
No, stop, Steve.
No, I'm just
saying.
If I were to say that...
Time out. Indiana Jones 3 is The Last Crusade. That is an amazing movie. Do not confuse it with Kingdom of Crystal Skull.
Indiana Jones 4. If I were to say that Indiana Jones 4 was better than the original 1, 2, or 3, then yes, I would put down my microphone and my headphones and walk away from this podcast, never to return. But I stand by my opinion that the Temple of Doom... Ola Sakima, come your heart in thee. Love it. Love it. I want to watch it right now, right after I finish Karate Kid 2. They're both in my queue. Number 1 and number 2. Wow. Mr. Nodelpats.
Mr. Nodelpats. Azoj Nodelpats.
That is awesome.
Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for writing in on Twitter and Facebook and emails. We love interacting with our friends and having a chance to talk with more people here in the Fortress of Nerditude. So keep that up. Every week we're going to ask you a question. You can always respond to us on Twitter at FortofNerd, email fortofnerd@gmail.com, or facebook.com/fortofnerd, and the soon-to-come fortofnerd.com.
That's right.
And I say soon to come, that means, when I actually
6
get
to
it done.
8 months. Yeah.
I mean, something. Anyway,
in addition to Mr. Nodal Pats, I just want to say that you can also hit us up on iTunes, rate us there, so that the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to find as a grizzly biker crocheting while riding cross country.
Very, very well done. Yeah, we do appreciate you guys going to the iTunes and giving us 5-star ratings and writing reviews. We know that it makes us more visible somehow. There's like a math formula, and I'm no
beautiful
mathematician.
mind written on a window, algorithm. Yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate it. We really do. And we appreciate you guys spending a little bit of time with us each week as we laugh and are silly and goofy and we talk about stuff. Anyway, thank you. We really do appreciate it.
Ditto. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about this podcast as kind of the main topic of discussion was kind of the new fall lineup. There's some shows that are obviously on the bubble, whether to be cut or not. There's some that are being canceled, some that are being renewed, and of course some new concepts that are being piloted this fall. And so we thought we'd just take a few minutes and talk about those. We're not going to go into detail on every single show because there's not enough time in the day, but we thought we'd hit on a few. And so I'm going to turn it over to Spence, and I don't know, we're going to hit probably the top three, the big three, maybe give a little bit of love to the redheaded stepchild, which is the CW. But yeah, kind of go through the lineups of the big three and talk about some shows. What do you say?
So what is this, the 1980s, the big three? Man, it's the big four. You're forgetting Fox. ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox. It's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to count, man. Come on. Okay.
Get your booty on the floor.
Gotta get down. Want to get up, get down.
Yes.
ABC. Let's start there. ABC. It's easy as 1, 2, 3.
Everything's got a soundtrack.
Renewed. I don't know. Yeah. Renewed coming up for this fall. American Housewife, The Bachelor, Black-ish, Dancing with the Stars, Designated Survivor, Fresh Off the Boat, The Goldbergs, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Middle, Modern Family, Once Upon a Time, Quantico, Scandal, Shark Tank, and Speechless have all been renewed.
Nice.
I was looking at the list of all the things that are renewed for ABC, and I realized that coming up in the fall, ABC doesn't have a lot. I mean, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Breed and I are a few seasons behind, so we need to kind of catch up on Netflix. And I occasionally watch Shark Tank. It's kind of like if it's on and I happen to see it, I'll turn it on because I really do like that show. But it's not one that I'm recording and watching religiously.
Right.
Surprisingly likely for renewal is America's Funniest Home Videos. How that thing is still on TV, I don't know.
Which is crazy.
It's because it's been on for a long time. Canceled on ABC, though, is American Crime, The Catch, Conviction, Dr. Ken, Imaginary Mary, Last Man Standing, Notorious, The Real O'Neills, Secrets and Lies, Time After Time. Now, in the canceled, I watched Last Man Standing, and this one I know is kind of got a lot of controversy around it right now because that show is really popular. It was averaging 8.1 million viewers on a Friday night for a comedy show. In the comedy section, I think it was only behind Modern Family, which is the big ABC comedy show.
Right.
But it's being canceled. It's being taken off the air. ABC's deciding to go away from comedies on Friday nights because they're pushing Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. there, and I'm trying to remember what else. But they're trying to push more sci-fi, comic book, superhero stuff for Friday nights, and so they say that's the reason they canceled it. But a lot of people don't believe that. They think it's being canceled because the show is speaks more to conservative, the right-wing conservatism. Tim Allen is a Republican, and so a lot of people feel like this maybe has to do with the election and maybe Donald Trump being president. And so people are signing petitions to keep it on. And I know some other networks have tried to see if they could pick it up because it's pulling 8 million viewers on Friday nights. So
yeah.
it's successful, But ABC is just choosing to go a different direction, and they kind of made some allegations like it was also due to negotiating costs because ABC actually doesn't produce the show. It's being produced by someone else. They just basically air the show, and so they're buying the production of the redistribution rights basically.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fishy. I mean, you talk about time slots. I mean, I know that I've got a boss that his daughter works in the television industry, and they are very, very sensitive with time slots. And if a show does really well, I mean, they will do anything to make sure that right. stays in the prime time slot and whatnot. So very, very fishy that they would be like, 8 million viewers, kick it, push it.
So. Anyway,
interesting.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to end up getting picked up by another network or not, but that's kind of the big controversial canceled thing that ABC has. Upcoming this fall for ABC, a show called Boy Band, Downward Dog, Somewhere Between, and 10 Days in the Valley. I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking coming up this fall on ABC, it's pretty much just going to be Shark Tank for us, and that's really going to be an occasional thing for me.
Yeah.
I think my wife does watch Modern Family some. I don't know how current she is, but anyway, that's ABC. ABC's not going to get a lot of my time, I don't think.
I would say our guilty pleasure is Dance with the Stars. My wife loves it.
Okay.
I like it as well. And that has been running for a long time. And when you look back like when Donny Osmond was on and like some of the early show, I mean, it's been on for a long time. And just yesterday, it airs on Mondays, Simone Biles was actually voted off. It was in the semifinals. She was voted off, which friggin' she got like all 10s, obviously a gold medalist and all the rest. And in previous seasons, there have been a lot of, Olympians that have performed and gone all the way to win the Mirrorball Trophy. She got voted off yesterday in competition with, or she was the bottom two with David Ross.
David Ross is still on it?
He's still on it, man.
Yes!
He beat her. And it's so funny to see. You know that it's legitimate because the judges are all like, oh my, and they like put their heads down and they're like totally shocked. Because David Ross, I mean, great guy and he's come a long way in his dancing, but like he's no gold medal gymnast, right? And so he
is a World Series champion Chicago Cub, and that in my mind means he's a champion in anything he does.
That's right, and he must have such a freaking fan base. It's amazing. It's awesome. So go David Ross, man. We're voting for you. We're rooting for you.
Cubs Nation coming through for David Ross. Good old Grandpa Rossi.
That's right, man. Grandpa's like 32. All right, so so it's so funny. So
in the
CBS,
baseball terminology, yeah.
Yes, he's get his walker with the tennis balls in the bottom and start sipping your strained peas. All right, CBS renewed The Amazing Race, The Big Bang Theory, Big Brother, Blue Bloods, Bull, Code Black, Criminal Minds, Elementary, 48 Hours, Hawaii Five-0, Life in Pieces, Kevin Can Wait, Madam Secretary, Man with a Plan, MacGyver. I have not watched that in a long time. It's been like 20, 30 years. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Mom, NCIS Los Angeles, NCIS New Orleans, Scorpion, 60 Minutes, Survivor, Superior Donuts, and that's about it. That's a lot of, wow.
Yeah.
Quite the rigmarole.
So we watch more CBS stuff. Like we always watch The Big Bang Theory, and we love Survivor. We're Survivor junkies.
Yeah.
But I did look at this. Like I don't really watch not Big Brother, The Amazing Race. I don't really watch it anymore. But once again, it's one of those things. Like if I do watch it, like I enjoy it. Like it's a fun kind of competition show to watch.
Yeah.
I just don't put a lot of time into it, but Survivor every week, Big Bang Theory every week.
So
there's some other ones I look and I would if I had more time.
Well, I was going to say, here's one that's on the bubble, so they're looking good, but may not renew yet. They haven't said. Undercover Boss, which is one I think you do watch, right?
I do like that. I do like the Undercover Boss. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the emotional appeal. Like he goes in or she goes in and, they try to hide who they are. And then like they find out all these like emotional stories about like their coworkers and employees are like suffering from cancer and trying to pay their mom's, mortgage on top of her medical bills and da-da-da-da-da. And then they're like, you touched my life. I'm going to take care of this and take care of that. And there's just, I don't know. It always seems like there's, for the most part, like some sort of like resolution and redeeming quality at the end.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I'm a child of the 80s and I always expect every episode of a TV show to end with some sort of like moral lesson that I'm going to be taught, or some sort of, viewpoint on like how we should be better friends to one another because being friends is, important to America and society. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Michelle, DJ, come sit down. Bob Saget needs to talk to you.
Right. Or at the end of every G.I. Joe, the PSA episode.
Exactly.
PSAs.
Don't swim when lightning is... Yeah. And you're probably wishing, obviously, that you didn't work for a company of like 5 people so that, Undercover Boss could happen at your company and you could be the benefactor of some... monetary gain, perhaps?
Yeah, my boss isn't going to be able to surprise me with a wig.
No. Have you seen, by the way, the SNL skit with Kylo Ren?
Yes.
Where he's working on the desk. He's like, hey, Matt. And he's like, he's fixing something, and he's just like, it's the thermocoupler. Just fix the thermocoupler so I can go get my muffin from the cafeteria before they're all out. And he's like, I'm doing my best.
Yeah, that's a really good skit.
So funny. All right. So on the bubble as well, but unlikely, Pure Genius Training Day episode or shows that have been canceled: Criminal Minds, Beyond Borders, The Odd Couple, Two Broke Girls, The Great Outdoors. Another show that's been pulled is Doubt, and then upcoming upcoming season is Big Brother, Candy Crush, 48 Hours, NCIS, Salvation, and Zoo. And I'm not familiar with any of those.
So I saw an advertisement for that Candy Crush game, and it looks like it's a game show based on the Candy Crush mobile game with Mario Lopez as the host. And my wife and I just looked at it and laughed, and I was like, yeah, this looks really, really silly and dumb.
That won't last beyond the pilot.
Yeah,
probably Mario Lopez.
I will say that The Great Indoors, I've never seen that show, but I kind of know that it's got Joel McHale, who was on Community, and I really loved him on Community. And I feel bad because I was hoping the show was going to get renewed and picked up because I think this was its first season, because I'd like to go and watch it and see if it's any good, because it always kind of seemed like it could be funny, but apparently not enough to get a lot of people to watch it. So
when you kind of think about some of these sitcom TV actors, the Mario Lopez's of the world, which he's more kind of like the announcer kind of role now, but a Joel McHale or others, they kind of have to like just bounce in between, right, different shows, and
kind of
something gets picked up like a Big Bang and it has a following. It's a really good thing, but basically you're one season away from being out of a job, basically.
Right.
Pretty
much. The show's got to. That is the interesting thing about TV is you've got to find an audience. The show has to have appeal, and you have to find a way to keep it with like lasting appeal without trying to like sell out and just try to keep it fresh. I always think about like Growing Pains, right? It's like all of a sudden, like Leonardo DiCaprio is brought on as the little kid, and
that was weird.
The Seaver family needed another kid. I don't know. But you got to do what you got to do to try to keep that money train a-rolling.
That's right.
Let's roll that money train over to Fox, okay? So Fox has renewed Bob's Burgers, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I don't really watch, but I know Josh watches pretty religiously and says it's really funny. Yep, Andy Samberg. Empire, The Exorcist, Gotham, Hell's Kitchen, Last Man on Earth, Lucifer, Lethal Weapon, The Mick, New Girl, The Simpsons, and Star. I'm glad to see The Simpsons got renewed for another season. I love The Simpsons. I don't get to watch them hardly ever anymore, but that's just, I don't know. It started when I was a child, and it's now on TV when I've got children, and it's been around forever, and I love it.
Well, even do you know that it first aired, I think, December 17th, 1989?
Yeah.
what? Like,
it's been around a while.
It was a Tracy Ullman short. Do you remember that show, the Tracy Ullman show? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
It is. Yeah. I remember when we first got married. I started watching The Simpsons, and Carrie had never watched as a kid because her parents, back in the day, it was kind of like irreverent and stuff. And her parents, we're not going to watch that. And so she kind of had these bad, vibes from it from when she was a kid, and started watching. She's like, "This is hilarious. What were my parents thinking?"
Yep,
that's right.
I love The Simpsons. It was our family time together on Sunday nights.
Exactly, family meeting. Bob and The Simpsons.
Yeah. Let's see. Likely for renewal is Family Guy and Master Chef Junior. On the Bubble, which is a toss-up, Prison Break and 24 Legacy. Canceled on Fox, APB, Bones,
Good.
Making History, Pitch, Rosewood, Scream Queens, Sleepy Hollow, Son of Zorn. And none of those sound like anything I would watch, so...
I thought Bones was a spinoff from some other cop show. They were forensic detectives.
I think Bones has just been around for a long time.
It's been around for a long time.
They pulled some show called You, the Jury. Upcoming on Fox new this season, American Grit, Beat Shazam, The F Word with Gordon Ramsay, Love Connection, So You Think You Can Dance, and Superhuman. My wife loves So You Think You Can Dance. It's in the dancing genre, and she watches that thing religiously. So I've seen a few here and there over the years, but I know she loves it. I know it's popular.
Yep. Let's move over to the Peacock, shall we?
Peacock, NBC, baby.
Renewed this year, or this season, Better Late Than Never. The Blacklist. Which, have you watched The Blacklist?
I've not seen it. I think Josh has told me about it. He says he's watched it.
Yeah, it's an okay show. It's got, what's his name, that was on The Office for a while. He was like the boss, kind of a creepy guy.
He played Robert California on The Office. I'm trying to think of what his name is.
Yeah. He was also on that sci-fi show with the big wheel that they had to walk through. It was like a portal, Stargate, I think. Anyway, Blind Spot, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago PD. Chicago is getting some love. The Good Place.
Yeah, represent Chicago.
That's right. Great News, Law and Order SVU, which I feel like has been on forever since, like, I don't know, the late 90s? I don't know.
Since SVUs came out?
Yeah. Little Big Shots. Since SVUs.
SVUs.
The Night Shift, Shades of Blue, maybe 50 Shades of Blue, I don't know. Superstore, Taken, Timeless, The Voice, and Night Court. I'm just kidding.
Night Court? What?
I miss Night Court. No, it's not on the list. Chicago Justice is on the bubble for possible renewal. Trial and Error is also a toss-up. Unlikely is The Celebrity Apprentice.
We can get rid of that one. I'm okay.
I was going to say, he's a little busy now. And then canceled The Blacklist Redemption, Emerald City, Grimm, and Powerless. And I know Grimm, but I don't know those other ones. So, canceled, then renewed. So I guess they had second thoughts was Timeless.
I think there was a big letter write-in campaign from fans of that show.
That never works.
No, it has worked a few times in TV history. I mean, famously with Star Trek: The Original Series, they were going to cancel it after the second season, and fans wrote in and they were stopping by the CBS Paramount Studios and putting bumper stickers on the cars and whatnot, and they gave it a third season, and then they get canceled, and they tried it again for a fourth, but didn't happen.
Well, I try. You know how many letters I've written about Arrested Development? Okay,
seriously?
None, but I have thought about it. All right, upcoming and new, America's Got Talent, how is that new?
Dude, that's because it's a new season. It comes out in the summer.
Okay, I guess.
I love that show, by the way. Love it.
Nick Cannon. I do. I'm sorry. I used to like it until I went to a live taping of it in Chicago, and Howie Mandel's a D.
Really?
Yeah, he was yelling at the audience and stuff. I was like, screw you, man. I've been sitting here for 5 hours. Well, yeah, it was not the best experience. So, Anyway, The Carmichael Show, Hollywood Game Night, Marlin, Midnight Texas, The Night Shift, Spartan Ultimate Team Challenge, The Wall, World of Dance, and Zoo.
Okay. Let's jump over to the redheaded stepchild.
Watch it, Stapleton.
The CW.
Yes.
And renewed Arrow, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash,
I know you're happy about
iZombie, Jane the Virgin, The 100, The Originals, Riverdale, Supergirl, Supernatural. So DC is getting some love on the TV with the C-dub. Canceled
UPS.
Frequency, No Tomorrow, Rain, The Vampire Diaries. Upcoming and new, Hooten and the Lady, Master of Illusion, Penn and Teller Fool Us, and Whose Line Is It Anyway? I'll tell you the upcoming new, the Penn and Teller Fool Us. I know it's like their 4th season because they do it during the summer. That's a cool show, watching magicians do magic and illusions and tricks and try to see if they can actually fool Penn and Teller. And
Right.
Penn and Teller trying to see if they actually know how it was done. It's a cool show.
That's a cool concept.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you really should give it a go, give it a watch.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel like, well, of course the answer is yes, but it's amazing because I look at a lot of these shows, and to be very honest, I haven't seen a lot of them just because I don't have a lot of time to spend just, vegging out in front of the TV. But there's so many more avenues of entertainment, right? So you have Netflix, and you've got just
Hulu.
YouTube in general, and just Hulu, yeah, Amazon Prime and whatnot. I got to imagine. Yeah, I've got to imagine that the options have become so diluted that viewership has got to be way, way down. Wouldn't you imagine?
I think so, but I guess it also depends on like how big the show is. Like, because I think there's those moments in time, right, where you can have a show that just hits and like everyone's watching it. Like I go back to the show Lost, and when Lost debuted and how big that thing was, I mean,
and everybody was talking about it.
Yeah, Netflix existed back then. I mean, obviously they weren't doing all the TV shows that they were doing now, but
right.
Hulu was around back then. YouTube was around, so there was a lot of other ways and all the different cable channels. Everyone talked about what was happening on Lost. The next day around the water cooler, I mean, just everyone's talking about it. So I think there's still those big shows that hit, that make a big impact. But like I'm looking at, some of these and it's like, yeah, Hell's Kitchen. I mean, I know that's a cooking show on Fox with Gordon Ramsay, I believe, and whatnot. It must do good enough ratings that it was renewed and, people are watching it. But I mean, it's not like a big show where like everyone in America is going to watch it. I mean, it's like Survivor. Like, I love Survivor. We watch it religiously. Survivor pulls in around 12 million viewers every single week for that show because it's built a fan base and the fans are super loyal to it. But it pretty much stays around that 12 million number. It's not really like peaking like it did when it got up to like 20 or 22 million in its second season when it was in Australia, because the cultural phenomenon has kind of dropped off some. And so it's just to its loyal fan base. But 12 million people tuning in on a Wednesday night on CBS. CBS definitely wants to keep that going because that's a lot of people watching, which means a lot of ad revenue.
It's like on par with our podcast.
Yeah, definitely, because we have got 12 million people checking it out every week.
12 million and one with Mr. Nodelpats.
Mr. Nodelpats in Norway. But I think that maybe the TV landscape has changed where people say, if I can do, 2 or 3 million for this type of show versus this other type of show, because there's got to be some sort of metric, right, that they figure out. They say, okay, according to this, if we're above this level, we're okay. If we're not, then, we haven't found an audience yet. And that's got
but again, I mean, talking about Last Man Standing, sometimes that metric, doesn't
isn't
hold.
used.
Yeah,
because maybe they figure they can get more people watching sci-fi comic book stuff on Friday nights versus comedy.
Yep. So let me ask this. So to kind of round out our conversation, are there any shows in particular that you're excited about, that you have seen trailers for maybe, that look really good in the coming season?
Like stuff that's just upcoming, like new stuff?
Yeah, either stuff. I watched the trailer for The Gifted, which is the new X-Men show.
Right. Yes.
It's coming out. And
I want to see that.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Did you watch the trailer though?
I did watch the trailer. I've seen it twice, I think.
Yeah.
Like
it looks
that I want to see.
Really good.
Yes.
Yeah. It looks really good. So really, this follows the story of these two kids. The father, which is kind of an interesting twist, works for the agency that is kind of the dark and shady agency that's got to, trying to eliminate these mutants and whatnot. And I think in the trailer they actually say, the Brotherhood and X-Men, do they still even exist? So it seems definitely after, many of the movies taking place, which we talked about last week, that some of the melding of TV and the silver screen.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm excited for that. I think that looks really, really cool. Plus, if it's done right, we're going to have an X-Men TV show. Right. And if it builds a following, we're going to be able to start pulling in other bigger characters from the X-Men universe. And so potential crossovers. That I'm excited to see. I'm just trying to look ahead to see kind of on this list. I mean, there's stuff that I already watched that I'm excited to come back. But America's Got Talent, I really do look forward to that every summer. Because I do like seeing what some of these amazing individuals and groups and duos and whatnot can put together, whether it's musical or whether it's, the physical stuff like, the contortionists and the illusionists and the magicians. I like it. I like the variety show kind of feel of it. But other than that, I mean...
There's a few others that I was going to mention. One is... these are just kind of funny ones, The Orville, which is an upcoming comedy, science fiction kind of spoof, created by Seth MacFarlane.
Oh,
and it's going to be on Fox. Yeah, it basically, it's funny. He's like, well, we're finally going to make you a captain. He's like, that's fantastic. He's like, well, we have over 300 ships. We've got to pilot all of them. He's like, don't screw it up, And it looks pretty funny. For those that love the Star Trek world.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a Star Trek kind of spoof.
Yeah.
What about what about the there's that one on Netflix that's coming out that they've been advertising a lot. Glow, it's the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Oh, yes. As a childhood fan of wrestling, yes, I remember Glow. I'd seen a few matches, but yeah, it's kind of like the backstory of how it all began and how it came to be. That looks kind interesting.
Of behind the movies or behind the music of lady wrestling, and I don't know why, but it has Alison Brie in it, who was in Community, and I love Community, and so I mean, I'll give it a shot. It's on Netflix, so it'll all drop at the same time, and watch one or two. If I don't like it, I bounce, but if I do, I'll just go crazy and smorgasbord that thing over a whole weekend. And
the other one that I thought was kind of a fun, kind of a popcorn show was Ghosted, I think it is. It's with Craig Robinson and Adam Scott. Craig Robinson from The Office.
Adam Scott from Parks and Rec.
Yeah. And it's basically just these two guys that are plucked from their normal lives and they've got to save the world from aliens, and just looks kind of funny. I watched the trailer, laughed a lot. So I like Craig Robinson.
I do too. I don't know if I've seen that trailer though. I'll have to go take a look.
It's basically like a comedic X-Files, and you can picture that. So
okay,
but so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to in the upcoming season.
So Steve, I think that should be our question of the week, because I'm always curious to find out what other people watch or what they recommend. So let's do that. Let's make it a 2-part question. What are you excited for in the upcoming fall season, and what show would you recommend to us to watch? Because there have been shows that people have said, for instance, The Flash. there's been some people that I talk with online. They're like, you got to watch The Flash. You got to watch The Flash. And I took their recommendation, and now I'm loving it.
Or Stranger Things.
Or Stranger Things. Yeah, exactly right. So that's the question. What are you looking forward to in the upcoming fall season, and what do you recommend us to watch? What are we missing the boat on?
Yep. Good question. Good stuff. Well, very cool. Well, always fun to be with you. Always a lively conversation. Everything from crocheting bikers to naked dancing women in the
forest,
in the woods,
making it rain, Steve, making it rain.
The tangents are endless.
So, just real quick, we're gonna do Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 coming up at the end of the month. So we're looking about 2 weeks from now to record that episode. So go out and see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Get on that because we're going to do that for our movie club. Abrita will join us. And we'll see if we can scrounge up a guest to join us as well. And we will talk about that. So be thinking about that. Be getting prepared for that. That is going to be coming up soon, my friends.
Yeah, and based on the time difference, maybe Mr. Nuddlepass can join us as a guest. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know how that would work in Norway.
It'd be like 2 a.m. or something. I mean, who knows?
Right. Anyway, Steve, always fun to be with you. Always fun to have a chance to kind of talk with you and chat and laugh and cry and sigh and laugh some more.
I did weep openly earlier. We're going to cut that out of the post-production. All right. Well, to all the little Kylo Rens out there, may the Force be with you always.